In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Kasie Dailey, and she is hailing over from the team at Verte. They're all into supply chains. It's basically a supply chain technology platform that is helping teams to, basically grow their business heavily. So today we want to really jump into what Verte is all about. But also, given the fact that Kasie works in marketing operations, we really want to deep dive into that a little bit because obviously marketing ops is ever increasing, and a lot of organizations want to learn a little bit about her experience and then get to know her journey. So, Kasie, welcome to the show.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Very good. So maybe give us a 360 overview. What is Verte all about?
Verte is a supply chain technology company that connects all the dots in the back-end supply chain process. So typically Six Sigma black belts are hired to help retailers and third-party logistics companies connect their sales channels, warehouse shipping, receiving, inventory management, data analytics, CRM, and many other types of technology that support the back end of supply chain. So Verte incorporates all of that into one platform. And we also have a fulfillment network of warehouses for third-party logistics companies to start working together rather than in competition, so they can get their products as close as possible to the customers for faster shipping times and to keep their warehouse inventory manageable.
That is a very succinct overview of what Verte is all about. Now, maybe tell me a little bit about the different players, the different companies that are and types of companies that are benefiting most from the solution, and if there's a certain, scale and size required, or maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so our customers are typically retailers, third-party logistics, and aggregators. We work with not the too big, but not too small, kind of the mid-range people. And so, yeah, that's typically it. They have their own warehouse and they're struggling with the technology that they have. It's kind of a Frankenstein setup, and we just sort of put it all together into one platform. And so, yeah, the biggest winners are really the customers, so they don't have to worry about where their products are all the time.
That is important to mention, I would say. Who would you say within those organizations is the champion? Like, who is saying, we need a solution like Verte, like who's bringing it in and spreading it in the company? Is that like a head of operations? Is that, the data science team? Like who's kind of like doing that sort of initial spark?
So you mean who is bringing in customers?
No, who's bringing in Verte? Like, from your customers, there must be, it might be either in the operations, it might be the C-suite that is saying, we need a solution like Verte.
Oh, you're saying, okay, from the job, the description. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's typically the CTO, it's C-level, C-suite, but technology is who we would typically work with. Sometimes we'll work with the fulfillment, like the head of fulfillment as well. Anybody that's in the supply chain part of the business is who we typically work with.
Gotcha. And how do these folks learn about Verte? Like, what would you say is the typical, journey that they go through? In other words, what are the top client acquisition channels that you guys leverage?
So we're a startup, but we've only been in business for 4 years, but and the leaders at Verte have a long history of supply chain industry knowledge and experience. So when we were first starting, they first optimized their personal network and created strategic partnerships to grow their business. So now that we are like kind of grown past that initial baby stage and proven our technology. So now we have an amazing SEO PPC team. We have a strong PR team. We have a strong presence on LinkedIn. We get a lot of business from trade shows. And we're starting to see that tide shifting from like Verte, what's Verte, and then to like having the name brand recognition in the industry. So
nice. You could play it the French way, Verte.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. What role do you think the website plays in them getting to know you? You're obviously in the marketing operations, and we're going to deep dive into that. I'm curious, like, how do you think about the website from a marketing operations angle?
It's definitely a lead gen tool. So yeah, it's used to simply and succinctly describe our product and speak to the specific audiences and explain and demo sort of what we do. Show the ROI, show pricing, show who our company is, just basically build trust, but also mainly it's a lead gen tool. So
yeah, makes sense. And maybe describe us a little bit the role of marketing operations within Verte. Like, what does that encompass? Is it sort of, the journey that the lead goes through internally? Is it reporting? Maybe share with us a couple of pointers.
Yeah. I was the first marketing ops person I'm still the only marketing ops person. And I was hired to move everybody over into HubSpot. So my journey with Vert has been, starting with marketing, and I've worked with sales and service and leadership, and I've brought them all into HubSpot. And so, the processes, and just basically refining their processes and making sure everybody can talk to each other. The reporting is clean. And then just any of the apps that we use are integrated with HubSpot, and all of so like we use Glean Quote for our quoting tool because we have a very comprehensive product library. So we use that. It integrates well with HubSpot. We use Sendoso as an app for our ABM. So that integrates well with HubSpot. CallRail, Demio, all those, Zoom Info, all the different tools that you can use with HubSpot. We're strategic about what we use and how we use it.
Very cool. I'd love to switch gears a little bit and talk a bit more about sort of, the marketing operations discipline in general. There's so much content out there, and it's a growing discipline. Like, where do you kind of like to educate yourself about the marketing operations role? Like, what are sort of your go-to places with all the noise out there?
I just try to stay on top of, any webinar or demo. For anytime I hear like a new product or tool, I'll try to jump into a demo and learn about it. If there's, any of the new certifications that HubSpot pulls out, I'm always on top of. And then, and then just, following some of the leaders that I've been following for 7 or 8 years, just following them, getting their newsletters, and, staying in touch of what's happening, trying to always stay on touch with what's happening because it's always changing. So
since we kind of slowly coming towards the end of the interview, I would have some rapid fire questions to get to know you a little bit better. You ready for those?
Okay.
What's the last book you read? Or the last podcast you listened to, for that matter?
Does it have to be marketing related?
No, not at all. It's actually quite the opposite. It's
kind of
weird to
weird.
learn more about yourself.
All right. So I listen to a lot of like human design stuff. So so human design, kind of weird, like that kind of thing, like astrology, human design, auras, and energy connections and that sort of thing. I read, I'm reading Wheels of Light. I'm reading a book about and I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's the definitive guide of human design. Taking some different courses and things like that. So it's just like a little hobby that I like to do and help understand people and how the energy circuits work.
Thanks for sharing. Completely different question. What's one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Company is focused on, well, I'm working on that as far as marketing is concerned, we're doing an account-based marketing, pretty large account-based marketing campaign that's targeting third-party logistics. So working with some affiliates and to get that going. We are also constantly just growing the product, refining it. We're considering, we're actually in progress of creating an app. So we're integrating HubSpot with Verte technology. So once we get that proven, then we'll create an app for the HubSpot and Salesforce marketplace so that people who use our technology can have like the complete picture of supply chain.
Next question, if there would be no boundaries in technology, right? So everything is possible. What's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
If there was no boundaries in technology, I feel like I really don't have a whole lot of boundaries actually in my role currently. Good. So it's hard to say. I guess probably, what, we need a product marketer. So I'd hire a product marketer, and we're actually in progress of that too, looking for that. So
what's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
I don't stay awake. I feel this is like one of the happiest places I've ever worked in. This is such a strong team. I mean, between sales, marketing, service, and leadership, everybody is just really pleasant to work with, and everyone has a strong vision and goal for the future. So if anything, I'm getting, insights and excited, if I'm staying awake at night, I'm thinking about, what are the possibilities and growth and how we're doing things. So
sounds like you're at a good place. Last question, if you would allow, we would do a little bit of time travel and go back to the days of San Jacinto or Jacinto, I hope I pronounced that kind of correctly, when you completed your formal education, right?
Okay.
So now you're heading out of formal education, out into the world of business. What's the one advice you would give yourself for your journey?
Probably wait for the invitation to, instead of like trying to go after the next thing and hunting and trying to be something, like just sort of soak up what's interesting to you and let life come to you. Let the right people, the places come to you. Although I have to say that, the way that I went about it brought me exactly where I'm supposed to be today. So I have no regrets. But.
Interesting. Reminds me of a quote of thriving rather than striving. No? A little bit in this direction. Very good. I want to give you, the last word. I really appreciate you took the time with us to be a guest on Pathmark Presents. If people would be forgetting all that we discussed about Verte today, what's the one thing they should remember?
Your product journey is your brand story. So you got to make it a good one. That's it. Verte can help you do that. If you are a retailer or a third-party logistics person who is trying to get their information out there, it's really important to have a strong product journey so that people have a good experience buying your product.
Appreciate you took the time being to be a guest on Pathmark Presents.
Okay, thank you, Lucas.